Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be talking about some new Mandela effects. So I've been trying to find some new Mandela effects that either I haven't talked about before or are just like new in general. A lot of these I did find are being like debated online right now currently, or like have recently been talked about. Hopefully you like them. The Mandela effects are very polarizing on my channel, but regardless of what you believe, it's still fun to talk about and think about. Whether you believe it or not, or depending on what you remember, totally fine. It's just something fun that, we like to have fun and talk about. Have a couple emoji ones today, as well as just some other ones that I hadn't heard about before, or I at least don't think I've talked about before. So without any further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and get into it. I know how you guys hate a long intro, so we're just gonna get started. All right, this first one has to do with the Addams family. So specifically, we're going to be talking about Wednesday Addams' dress. Now, obviously, throughout the years, there have been a lot of different versions of the Addams family created, different movies made, and then of course the show on Netflix as well. So the Addams family has been around for a very long time, and people distinctly remember Wednesday Addams' dress looking a very particular way. So we are talking about the 1991 version of the Addams family movie, specifically Wednesday Addams' dress in that movie. So just think about it for a minute. What do you remember her dress looking like? Was there any distinguishing features of the dress? Was it a solid color? Was it colorful? What do you remember it looking like? If you said you remember it being completely plain black, that's how a lot of people remember her dress from that movie in particular. A lot of people realize though that after going back and reviewing the movie, Wednesday Addams' dress actually has a very subtle but distinct pattern woven into the fabric. It's kind of like this lacy, almost like floral pattern within her dress instead of it being the solid plain black dress that everyone seems to remember. A lot of people just remember the dress being solid black with no detailing on it at all, and we're really shocked to find out or realize once reviewing the movie again that she does in fact have some sort of pattern on her dress. So that is definitely a peculiar one. Let me know what you think about that Mandela effect. This next Mandela effect might unlock some sort of childhood memory for you. We are going to be talking about the Little Debbie red, white, and blue patriotic cakes. So these Little Debbie kind of like patriotic cakes always come out around the 4th of July time. I remember them coming out even when I was a kid, but people are very confused by the shape of the Little Debbie cakes. A lot of people remember the shape of those particular patriotic limited edition Little Debbie cakes. They remember it being in the shape of a star. And so they're shocked to see that they're actually a shape of a square. Now, I hadn't heard this Mandela effect before really this year around this time. I just happened to see it online while I was, looking up Mandela effects for this video. And I've never noticed it or thought about that before, but now that I think about it, I do think I remember those cakes being star-shaped. I can't say for 100% certainty. I know some people might be getting it confused with the cakes. I think they're in the shape of like a hexagon or something. So I know there's that shape, but many people remember specifically for the patriotic Little Debbie cakes, the snack cakes that come out, they remember them being in the shape of a star, which would make sense, obviously, because of the type of themed cake that it is. A lot of people are like, what the heck are these? Now that they're out this year, and they are in fact in the shape of a square. So let me know what you remember. Do you remember the Little Debbie cakes being star-shaped or in the square shape that they're currently in? This next Mandela effect has to do with the classic peace sign. And I'm talking about the peace symbol that is drawn, not like the peace sign with your hands. So think about the peace symbol. It was really big, like growing up for me, like peace signs were in, like rainbow, tie-dye, peace signs, all that like hippie vibe clothing was super in if you were like shopping at Limited Too or Justice even or anything like that. I mean, peace signs were just everywhere, especially like rainbow ones. So what do you remember the peace sign looking like? Take a minute, picture it in your brain, specifically the pattern that is inside of the circle. Which direction do you remember the lower lines being in? A lot of people remember the peace signs lower lines being reversed or at least angled differently than the current way the peace sign is shown, with the lines angled downward and then the straight line in the middle. A lot of people are describing the version they remember of the peace sign as looking way more balanced than heavy on the lower part of the circle. And some people even remember the lines being absolutely reversed and facing upward like this, so almost looking like a Y with the line all the way through it instead of downwards as the peace sign currently is. So what do you remember on that? I know it can be confused with like the Volkswagen symbol and different things like that, but this is actually picking up a lot of traction online online, a lot of people do remember the peace sign actually being flipped upside down. So really interesting. I don't personally remember it being that way. I remember it always looking the way that it looks now. Given the discussion that's going on online, I did want to bring this one up and ask you guys what you remember, because apparently a lot of people remember it that way. So crazy. But a lot of people didn't grow up during, my generation. So depending on when you grew up, maybe you do remember it differently or somehow are connecting it to something else. Okay, this next one we're going to talk about is the Rosetta Stone. I wasn't sure if I should include this one or not. I think this Mandela effect is actually pretty old, but I don't think I've talked about it yet, so we're going to just include it. So with the Rosetta Stone, most people imagine it as this like great big giant stone, something that would tower over you, just like a really big, almost like monumental sort of stone that would well exceed like the size of a human. But then people finally see the Rosetta Stone, or at least photos of the Rosetta Stone. A lot of people are shocked to find out that it's actually a lot smaller than what they remembered or what they imagined. It is actually even smaller than a human. It's pretty small overall. It's around 44 inches tall, 30 inches wide, and 11 inches thick. So definitely a lot smaller than what people are remembering. I mean, people are remembering it as being like almost boulder sized, like huge, like a monument. So really interesting. I don't know that I've ever thought too much about the Rosetta Stone, but I feel like I did think it was really large. So whether that's people just assuming things or really remembering it one way and it's turning out to be something different, it seems like the size of the Rosetta Stone has changed for a lot of people. So what do you remember with that? I remember growing up, there was those infomercials, something about Rosetta Stone. So maybe that's what we're thinking of. I don't know, but let me know. Okay, and to finish it off here, we're going to be talking about a couple of different emoji Mandela effects that I thought were very interesting. I love talking about emoji ones. I feel like we all collectively remember all of these emojis that ended up never existing. I know I've talked about certain emojis on here before. I think like the robber emoji, the water bottle, maybe different ones. So I tried to find a couple that I haven't talked about yet, but these are just a fun little something I like to include in the end of some Mandela effect videos. Also, if you remember any emojis that actually don't exist, let me know, because this one I find so fascinating, especially since we all remember the emoji looking a very specific way, or it'll be like a certain color pattern or whatever, and it never existed. So how do we all think of it looking the same exact way, like down to the color and anything like that? I don't know. Emoji ones really get me. So we're gonna start with one that has confused a lot of people online recently. A lot of people are talking about this, and I wanna ask you what you remember. So this has to do with a hiking emoji, not just the boot. Obviously there are a couple different versions of like shoe emojis and boots and things like that already, but this has to do with an actual person that is hiking. So imagine the hiking emoji, and do you remember it? A lot of people are describing it the exact same way, where it's like a person who's wearing a backpack and they have like trekking poles or the walking stick, something like that. And some people even remember this specific character climbing a mountain with that gear on. And some people even remember using this emoji when they were talking about their weekend hike or a vacation they went on or something. They remember using this emoji when they were texting a friend or a family member about it, which I feel like is what happens with a lot of these emojis. We all remember using it. So then it's like we remember what it looks like, we remember using it or sending it to someone. So how does it just disappear and not exist or never have existed? So when you search this emoji, it does not come up on any sort of Apple device or Google or anything like that. Like an official hiking person emoji has never ever existed. Isn't that crazy? I do feel like I remember that emoji, but I also don't know how much in my life I would have used a hiking man emoji. But for some reason I still remember it, which is weird. Okay, this next one really got me, and it is the seahorse emoji. And the reason this one got me so much is because seahorses are one of my favorite animals, and so I feel like I would know if there was a seahorse emoji or would have used it, and apparently there has literally never been a seahorse emoji. I know we've had a couple emoji Mandela effects on here that had to do with animals. I did not think the seahorse was one of them. I do feel like I distinctly remember using a seahorse emoji before in my life. So a lot of people online, when they're talking about it, they remember it as like a little yellow or orange, or like yellowish orange, like marigold looking seahorse with its tail curled and kind of like from a profile view, which is exactly how I remember it too. I remember just the little tiny seahorse on the side, like the side view, and its tail curled up. Apparently though, there has literally never been an official seahorse emoji through Apple. And it is weird because we have so many different animal emojis, especially ocean creatures. Like there's an octopus, there's dolphins, whales, like tropical fish, there's coral, there's like palm trees, there's all these different emojis for like the ocean. And tropical places, but no seahorse. Like, what is that? I feel like that's a super common sea animal too, to not have it included in the emoji list. That one really got me. I swear I know I've used a seahorse emoji before. So that one's really weird. Tell me what you guys remember. I think that's the Mandela effect for this video that freaked me out the most, for sure. Because I'm like, false memories are so weird to me. I'm like, how do I not remember something, or I remember something that didn't exist? Like, what the heck? Okay guys, and that's gonna be it for this Mandela Effect video today. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below on what you remember. I feel like these were pretty good Mandela effects, especially the emoji ones, and I'd love to hear below what you remember in regards to any of the Mandela effects, but specifically the emoji ones, because I feel like they were really creepy this time. And also the Little Debbie cakes. What do you remember with that? I feel like I do remember them being star-shaped, but I don't know. Anyway, as always, I really appreciate you guys watching today's video. Thank you so much. If you have any Mandela effects that you remember that you would like me to talk about, please comment them below. I love doing these fun little Mandela effect videos, and I love hearing what you guys remember too. So if you have any Mandela effects that you'd like me to talk about, I'd love to know. And I'd also, of course, love to know what you thought about today's Mandela effects and what you remember. Do you remember it the way it was or the way it is now? Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!